Ladies and gentlemen, I was going to do a simple video giving some people a heads up because a lot of people have been showing some concerns about my health and I want to put a stop to that. I've already told people do not offer me health advice because it's not appreciated. Yes, 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 I understand. You mean well, and you're just looking out. Please stop. I'm 50 years old. That means that I've been dealing with this for the greater part of 40 years. So please stop. No advice. I don't need your advice. Well, my mama said this helped cleared up her cataracts. People, this is muscular dystrophy and myasthenia gravis and another form of muscular dystrophy. So no, your remedies that you might suggest will not work. If there was a cure, well, there is a cure for muscular dystrophy. Then let somebody else take it. Because if there was a cure for muscular dystrophy, you wouldn't need those marathons every year. Jerry Lewis, before he died, wouldn't have had to sit up there for 48 hours doing marathons. Okay? If there was a cure, then this genetic hereditary disease would have been eradicated some time ago. You know, like polio? So please stop. But again, that's what I was going to talk about. But ladies and gentlemen, I'm not going to talk about that. No, 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 no. We're going to talk about this problem right here. Testilying. Testilying. Doesn't that sound like a new automobile? Yeah, this is the new Testilying. Man, you driving that Testilying. Man, that Testilying is so... Man, I wish I had a Testilying. Oh, no, that Testilying looks so sharp. Okay. Testilying. Somebody came up with a stupid phrase. But I want you guys to see what happened. This young lady right here, who they're showing her back, not showing her face, and thank you for treating Miss Thomas with some dignity and respect. Let's understand what happened. Nectar, that's the sweetest nectar you could ever find. Officer Nectar Martinez took the witness stand in the Bronx courtroom on October 10th, 2017. And he swore to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help him, whatever deity they claim to be their God. It says, the officer explained that there had been a shooting and that they were searching the nearby apartments for evidence. And a woman stood in the doorway carrying a laundry bag, and the officer asked this woman, as she set the bag down in the middle of the doorway directly in his path, to pick it up and move it out of the way so that we can get in. Now notice that, right? But the laundry bag felt heavy. Excuse me, how could the laundry bag felt heavy? You just said that the woman set it there. But apparently the officer picked it up. So when he put it down, he said he heard a clunk thunk. Okay. What might be inside? I wonder. What could be inside this laundry bag? So Martinez tapped on the bag with his foot. What you kicking my bag for? That's my clothes. I'm telling you kick my bag? What the wrong with you? Okay, anyway. And he felt something hard. This is what he testified. So he opened the bag, leading to the discovery of a Ruger 9mm handgun, and he arrested Mrs. Thomas. Now, don't nobody dare say nothing about Mrs. Thomas, okay? Miss Thomas a good woman, and we're going to prove it. But there was a hallway surveillance camera. Everybody reaps what they sow, everyone. Everybody. I'm not showing you this information. I'm just now finding out about it. Maybe I did hear about this story back then, back in October, but I'm just now finding out about it. Ladies and gentlemen, let's find out what they did. Pay attention, everyone, because this is what makes it all interesting. Sorry, it bothers me greatly because I keep telling people about how we have to continue to do what's right. despite all of the stupidity going on around us, we have to be true to ourselves. Okay? You have to be true to yourself. So, again, Officer Martinez and the other investigators questioned the woman in the doorway. So these other officers knew that this officer lied. They knew that he lied as he was getting on that stand, and none of them stood up. The same as these courts are knowing that these judicial officers are violating the law. Well, let's pay attention. Let's go ahead and read. There was no laundry bag or gun in sight as Officer Martinez and the other investigators questioned the woman in the doorway and then stride into the apartment. Inside, they did find a gun, but little to link it to the woman, Kimberly. Still, had the camera not captured the hallway scene, Officer Martinez's testimony might have sent this woman to prison for at least 10 to 15. Because it would have been concealed weapon. And had it been loaded, and we know it was loaded because if it was empty, that's only 2.5 years. So we know they ain't gonna plant. Pay attention. The officer planted a gun. That's a felony, people. Putting false and misleading evidence on a public record, a felony, and watch and see what the court did. When Mrs. Thomas's lawyer sought to play the video in court, prosecutors in the Bronx dropped the case, then the court sealed the case file, hiding it from the view. It's a problem that's sold and persistent in our justice system, sometimes responds with little more than a shrug. False testimony by police. Ladies and gentlemen, why did the court seal this case? Why did the judge seal this case? What was the reasons for sealing this case? Let's go on, because I didn't read past what I just read. Okay? Behind closed doors, we call it Testilying. A New York City police officer, Pedro Serrano, hey, Serrano, you're going to get your butt in trouble, said in a recent interview, echoing the words that officers coined at least 25 years ago. You take the truth and you stretch it out a little bit. Stretch it? These fools are thinking they're elastic. Okay, unbreakable elastic. An investigation by the New York Times has found that on more than 25 occasions since January 2015, judges and prosecutors determined that key aspects of New York City police officers' testimony was probably untrue. The Times identified these cases, many of which are sealed, through interviews with lawyers and police officers and current and former judges. It's how they were able to find this out. Why are they sealing these cases? If they're sealing these cases, that means they're concealing a crime. You know that's a felony. And ladies and gentlemen, somebody needs to start reporting them to the Attorney General's office for civil rights violations and for felony concealment. It's a crime, people. And the judge sealing the case, they cannot say it was in the public interest, because what the officer did is in the public interest for them to get rid of it. That officer, these officers who have lied on the stand are still on the force. Now look, ladies and gentlemen, sorry. Honestly, I do believe, and yes, there's no music in this video, I do believe that police officers are necessary. I do believe that most police officers are honest. I know a police officer. He's a lead detective, has been a detective for going on 20 years. This young man, I know personally. And although, yeah, maybe he may have done a couple of things that he shouldn't have done, I don't see him planting evidence against anybody. He's just not that type of person. He is a human being like everyone else. But I do see him giving people a fair shake. I don't see him going out of his way to cause anyone problems. I don't see him abusing his authority. Well, because he also realizes that if he were to do that, he would have to suffer the consequences. So, again, not all judges are bad. Not all police officers are bad. Not all people are bad. Not all people are evil. Some people are just going through their daily lives. Some of these judges, hey, it's just a job. Other judges, they really care about people. You're going to get that mixture because it's a melting pot. It's a mixture. So you're going to get the good, the bad, and the ugly. Martinez and others like him, sorry. They deserve to get anything and everything they got coming to them. I am not saying I wish anything bad on anybody. Ladies and gentlemen, I simply say there's a consequence for every action. And the consequence for this action, the woman, she doesn't have to go to jail, but she spent the night in jail. She was arrested, okay? And if it were me, I'd be bringing up a claim against him, and I'd be using the evidence, and I'd be calling the officer to testify again. You see, they took that video footage from that hotel. Now, ask yourself the question, who introduced the video footage? It wasn't the prosecution. Who knew of the video footage? It was the woman's public defender. Because you know she had a public defender. So the public defender or whomever she knew was smart enough to get copies of the video from that hallway. I'll prove it to you. Let me prove to you how we know that it wasn't the prosecution. Watch this. When Ms. Thomas's lawyer sought to play the video in court, the prosecutors in the Bronx dropped the case. So the prosecutor didn't even know the video existed until they dropped it on her in court. And then all of a sudden, the prosecution wants to backpedal. But again, police officers lie. And the New York Times found out that there have been several cases, over 25 occasions. So this means, and this is only the 25 occasions because they looked for cases that were dismissed. Okay, and where there was actually evidence to the contrary. Remember, here's what the jury does. That's why the police officer comes to court and they come in uniform. The reason why they come in uniform because people are taught to respect the uniform. Romans, the 13th chapter. People are told to respect the uniform, to respect authority. And so that's why they come in uniform, so that the individual looks like what they're saying is true, which is why the juries believe them. Well, no, the officer testified this. Oh, and the other officer came in and testified. But believe me, pay attention, ladies and gentlemen, there was more than one officer that testified in that case. And yes, the attorney set him up. Why? Pay attention. The prosecution had already did their case. Pay attention. When Mrs. Thomas's lawyer sought to play the video in court, you see that it was her turn, not the prosecutor's turn. And what did they do? They just simply dropped the case and then they sealed the case. Ladies and gentlemen, this is what they're doing. It's not just happening with mortgages, it's happening all around this country. And they've been given a pass. I've been telling it to people that they've been given a pass to do things like this. Now, when I am needing a little distraction, what I do is I go, let me show you what I did today so that you'll understand. What I did is I saw all of these articles, and what I did is I just went through all of this junk. I used to watch, pay attention, people. I used to watch basketball, but I saw the cheating in basketball firsthand. And then when I saw it on a small scale, I started looking for it in the NBA, and it was ever present, so I don't watch basketball anymore. Football, can't stand it. I don't watch sports anymore because it's not fun. If there was a possibility or a chance of it being a chance, unpredictable, then I'd watch it. But that's not the case. I would even suspect there's cheating in golf. Of course there is. Person gets ready to swing and one of the people in the audience starts coughing. Or a baby starts crying on cue. Okay, or somebody sends out a bird to where it distracts the golfer. So they cheat in all the sports. They find a way to cheat. I don't have time for it. But what I do is from time to time, I'll look at pages like this and MSN. Okay, Bing and MSN are very good for doing all of these little articles. But like I said, I don't usually watch this junk because it's usually junk. None of it is anything of import. Okay, don't care about any of these stories right here. But that story, when I saw this and I saw Testilying, that's all I saw was Testilying. And so I said to myself, okay, I'm going to take a look at that. And then it says, by police persist even with video evidence. I thought it was going to be another one of those stories where the police is shooting somebody down or killing somebody, you know, even though the video camera, you know, shows something different. Now, ladies and gentlemen, watch this. Let me show you. If you guys, let me do this because I don't feel like, I really don't. Let's go forward for one because I don't feel like typing right now. I'm going to have to type a little bit, but I ain't going to be typing a lot of bit. I'm just be typing a little bit. Okay, so we just going to do Testilying. And we can go to YouTube. Just watch this. Yoo-hoo! I'm typing slow because I really am exhausted. And that's the other thing that I want people to understand. I've had many checkups by many stupid doctors. And I call them stupid because they really didn't know. They're stupid. Okay, ladies and gentlemen, many checkups where I'm explaining to the doctors that I wake up tired, I go to sleep tired, I spend 80% of my day lying down. Well, I'm back to that era where I am basically exhausted all day and I'm sitting, lying down, sitting, lying down, sitting, lying down. Not all day long, but I'm back to that period in my life where that is the case. And it has happened before. Now, Testilying, okay? What is Testilying? Now, I just pulled this up just to be doing that. But watch this. I don't want to do that because these are just morons. I want to do it with the police doing it, where we have evidence of the police doing it. Corrupt, lying cops arrested, tried, and jailed for perjury in 79 cases. I will go to this one because this is what I'm interested in. I don't care about no cop getting owned. I don't care about cop lying to write a ticket.
Police officer now underway at Superior Court. Brandon Mullock is facing 34 charges of falsifying police reports. KCRA 3's Tom Duhane joins us live from the courthouse with what's happened in this case so far.
Well, starting this morning, the ex-police officer is beginning to hear and see all the evidence the DA is going to use to support the charges against him in a preliminary hearing. The DA tells me he intends to review 24 separate arrests, which the DA's office believe arrests contaminated by either false information or by perjury. Brandon Mullock watched as the DA's office began presenting evidence supporting 24 counts of filing false reports and 10 counts of perjury. Police Sergeant Marnie Sturgis demonstrated how DUI sobriety tests are conducted, including the eye examination. The sergeant then showed the court how a breathalyzer is properly used, setting the stage for the prosecution.
Hold on, we don't care about none of that. Let me let you guys know something. They just told you that this is illegal. So why are the judges sealing these cases, covering up a crime, to which they have documented is illegal? Let's go past that. I want to get right here.
It then showed highlighted portions of one DUI report with notations about one suspect refusing to cooperate. Mullock wrote that the suspect did not understand instructions and held up his hands. Then the court saw squad car video from January 2010 of then Officer Mullock making a traffic stop near 16th and I Streets. And then the court listened as he gave the driver 2 breathalyzer tests. Not heard or seen were several actions and statements attributed to the driver. By the way, the DA's office says that this presentation could take several days because there's so much detail. The officer faces a potential time in prison if convicted of all of these items of nearly 23 years. Reporting live at the courthouse.
Okay, that's the reason why I just turned here, because the cases are there. You guys can find them. They're all over the place. If you got an issue where an officer is saying you did something and this officer has lied, remember, ladies and gentlemen, people have filed reports against that officer. Uh-oh, look at that. This guy blows a zero and the officer arrests him anyway. The cop says, so what? Interesting. You gotta love this. But what can you do? Ladies and gentlemen, as I'm going to tell you, I showed you a video where I gave a portion of Rob Ryder's video, and I showed you. Now look, a lot of the things that Rob Ryder says in the video of his analysis and his understanding of the facts of legal stuff, I don't agree with. But he did something to let you all know that there is something that you can do. Take and ask a federal question. Now, I'm not going to teach you how to ask a federal question. You'll have to do your research on how to ask a federal question. But wait. It doesn't have to be a federal question. You can ask a question of the court. What Rob Ryder did is he asked a question of the court, and it didn't cost him anything. You see, because he didn't have a defendant, there wasn't a filing fee. Because he's just asking the court a question. So they assigned it to a magistrate and gave it a number. Ladies and gentlemen, you all can do the same thing. But see, some of you, and I'm going to say this again, some of you, bless your little hearts, you need to be on medication. You need to be chained up, locked up, put away in some little asylum because you take things way too far and you mess it up for everybody else. So if you don't know how to ask two questions. No, not 8, not 20, not 100. 2 questions. But they have to be the most important of questions. And they can't be the question where you take a knife or a pick or a hammer and jab it in somebody's eye. It has to be a setup question, such as I was telling the legal wise people to help me with going before the different circuit courts in the area where they are, and asking the question about the March 9, 1933 Act, proving that that act is still in existence and the courts are still going by that act, and asking, can Congress delegate its authority and or power to another branch of government so that they exercise the authority and power of the Congress when the power and authority that they're exercising is specifically delegated to Congress, such as the March 9, 1933 Act, and Congress' own intentions mentioned in the March 9, 1933 Act. And then you challenge it in your question. You just let them know, I hereby challenge that act as unconstitutional. And I say because Congress delegated its authority to the president, and because that act continues to exercise authority over the people without giving the people a remedy in over 70 years, I must hereby challenge this act. But the legally wise people will know how to put that together. They'll know how to put their 2 questions before the circuit court an opinion. The rest of you, here's your question that you should ask. Everyone is required to know the law. Ignorance of the law is no excuse, so everyone is required to know the law. Would this not include judges? Would be your first question. So if a judge knows something is the law, and he has taken an oath to follow and abide by the law, if he fails to do that, is not the appellate court or the reviewing court liable to correct his actions without there being a direct request from anyone else to correct those actions, comma, because ignorance of the law is no excuse. The moment they become aware of the wrong, are they not obligated to correct the wrong, to redress the wrong? That's what redress means, to correct the wrong. If you're going to ask a question on a state level, that's the question you ask to the appellate court. That's the question you ask to the superior court. By the way, any decision they make regarding that decision, you can appeal it. It's a question. You get to appeal the response to your question if they do not answer the question. And you want a conclusion based on law, not legal opinion, because legal opinion is not law. Okay? The court must go and adhere to the intentions of the legislature when it comes to statute, when it comes to the law. And that's why you use what the courts have said. You see, here's the thinking. We have judges who violate the law all the time. We have a judge who told a person they did not have the right to represent themselves. Only later, the person brought forth a motion, their fourth one, to represent themselves. And finally, 2 days before trial, the judge lets the person represent themselves. No preparation, no time to do anything, just says, okay, you can represent yourself, trying to cause the person harm. But for 6 months, the court would not let this person represent themselves, kept interfering. Then they forced an attorney on him. Then the attorney lied on him, had him put in jail for 30 days. The attorney lied in court, told the person, get the transcripts, play the transcripts, put the transcripts up there on the record, showing the attorney lied on the record. You cannot, in the state of California, put false and misleading information on the public record. It's a crime. You can't knowingly and intentionally do that. And as an officer of the court, he can't do that. That's grounds for disbarment if it's brought up the proper way. Did you know the judge told him that he cannot tell the jury anything about what the attorney did? Because this is what they do, people. So, because the judges know what the law is, and by the way, they still didn't correct it. That should have been a mistrial. But they didn't correct anything. Remember, the judge is the one who forced the attorney on him, and every time he brought it up to them, they ignored him. They did not correct anything. Everything is still going on. The judge is still playing the game. So if a judge does something wrong, if a judge violates the law, if the judge violates a person's due process rights, does not the appeals court have an obligation to correct the wrongs of that judge without placing the burden on the individual who is the victim of those wrongs? And you want to use the word victim. You don't want to use the word plaintiff or defendant. You want to use the word victim. Why? Because the courts have an obligation to the victim. Ladies and gentlemen, this is my take on Testilying. And this is my take on how you should be approaching the court, asking a question. We need to start putting this in the forefront because nobody's been doing it. Everybody's been arguing and arguing and arguing. That's why I say you keep it limited to 2 questions. You don't bring up the whole farm. You don't bring up all those other side issues about no sovereign stuff. That stuff, you're just going to mess it up. That's why I say those of you who do that, you need to be on medication. You don't need to be involved in this at all. Matter of fact, I really wish you'd stop watching my videos altogether because you're not the people I'm talking to. I'm talking to the people who actually have the sense of mind to understand that vinegar, nobody likes drinking straight vinegar. So please, stop trying to shove vinegar down these courts' throats and down our throats. We are trying to soften them up, and then we're trying to hit them till we get to the white meat. But for right now, we have to get an entry into the doorway. And we do that by asking the questions because eventually we're going to figure out the right question to ask. That's what we're trying to do. So if you want to join that, then you have some direction. Ladies and gentlemen, I don't want to go past 30 minutes, and we're at 29:45. So have a good evening. I'm about to go lay down and get ready to go to sleep. But I'm glad I've been talking this short time because my neck ain't killing me no more and the headache ain't getting no stronger. So good night, everyone.